Hello and welcome. For months, the fate of TikTok has been a political football kicked between Washington and Beijing. But now, the game has changed. The US government has issued what amounts to an ultimatum, tying the app's very existence in America to its high-stakes trade war with China. On Thursday, US Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick dropped a bombshell. TikTok's future could be on the table in trade negotiations with China next week. His message was blunt: if Beijing doesn't approve a deal that hands over control of TikTok to American interests, the app, used by 170 million Americans, will go dark. So, what's really going on here? Is this about national security, or is it a ruthless negotiation tactic? And can the US really demand the keys to a kingdom it didn't build? Today, we unravel the strategy, the hypocrisy, and the likely endgame of the TikTok ultimatum. Let's first address why TikTok, a social media app, is suddenly a centerpiece in trade talks about tariffs and technology. Secretary Lutnick said the topic is not officially part of the talks, but unofficially? Of course. This isn't an accident, it's a deliberate strategy. The Trump administration is treating TikTok as a valuable bargaining chip, a piece of leverage to be used against China in wider economic disputes. The logic seems to be, you want access to our 170 million users? Then you need to play ball on other issues. This approach is classic hardball, turning a corporate entity into a geopolitical pawn. It's a tactic designed to force China's hand, but it also risks immense collateral damage not just to the company, but to the American creators and businesses who rely on the platform. This brings us to the core of the US demand. Lutnick was crystal clear: Americans will have control. Americans will own the technology, and Americans will control the algorithm. This sounds simple, but it's profoundly complicated. The TikTok algorithm is the company's crown jewel. It's the sophisticated eye that learns what you like with uncanny accuracy, keeping you scrolling for hours. It's what makes TikTok TikTok. This technology wasn't developed in the US. It was built and is maintained by engineers at its parent company, ByteDance, in China. And here's the kicker: Beijing knows how valuable this is. In 2020, China updated its export control laws to include content recommendation algorithms, effectively making it illegal to transfer this technology abroad without the government's permission. So, when the US demands ownership of the algorithm, it's not just asking a private company to sell an asset. It's asking the Chinese government to approve the export of what it considers a strategic national technology. It's like demanding Coca-Cola sell its secret formula and then asking the US government to sign off on it. It's a demand that seems designed to be rejected. The ownership structure of TikTok's parent, ByteDance, further complicates things. While it's a private company, with 60% owned by global investors and 20% by employees, its operational heart and Chinese founders remain subject to the pressures of Beijing. The Chinese government also holds a 1% golden share in a key ByteDance domestic subsidiary, giving it a board seat and direct influence over content within China. The US sees this as a backdoor for control, no matter how many non-Chinese investors are involved. The entire justification for this unprecedented government action rests on one phrase: national security. For years, US officials have claimed that TikTok could be used by the Chinese government to spy on Americans or to push propaganda by manipulating the algorithm. But here's the problem: the US government has never presented any public, concrete evidence to support these claims. No proof of data being transferred to the Chinese Communist Party. No proof of the algorithm being manipulated for foreign influence operations in the US. The case is built on hypotheticals: what could happen, not what has happened. TikTok has repeatedly denied the allegations and even proposed Project Texas, a billion-dollar plan to store all US user data in the United States, managed by a US company, Oracle, to wall it off from China. The government rejected it. Now, let's talk about the irony. For over a decade, the US has criticized China for its Great Firewall, a vast system of censorship that blocks American tech giants like Google, Facebook, and YouTube. Washington has championed a free and open internet, condemning Beijing's digital protectionism. Yet, with the TikTok ban, the US is essentially building its own, albeit smaller version of that wall. It is blocking a foreign app based on its country of origin and unsubstantiated fears. It's an if you can't beat them, join them approach to internet governance that legitimizes the very censorship the US has long opposed. China has already called the move an act of bullying that will come back to bite the US, and frankly, it's hard to argue with that logic. So, with the September 17th deadline looming, what happens next? Will China cave to US pressure? All signs point to no. Beijing has consistently stated it will handle the issue according to its own laws and has opposed a forced sale. Giving up TikTok's algorithm would be seen as a major technological and political capitulation. This leaves us with two likely scenarios. Scenario 1, TikTok goes dark. This is the outcome Secretary Lutnick is threatening. If no deal is approved by China, the law passed in 2024 would make it illegal for app stores and web hosts to support TikTok in the US. The app would simply stop working for its American users. Scenario 2, the Made in America clone. There are reports of a plan internally called M2, where TikTok would create a new separate app just for the US. This app would be built from a copy of the code, but would use a new algorithm trained only on US user data. It would be owned by a US consortium, with ByteDance perhaps retaining a small, non-controlling stake. This sounds like a compromise, but it's a hollow victory. The new app wouldn't have the magic of the original algorithm. It would be a shadow of its former self, and it's unclear if users would embrace it. It would be like buying a Ferrari, but with a Ford engine inside. Ultimately, the battle over TikTok is about far more than one app. It's a defining moment in the new era of US-China relations. We are witnessing the rise of techno-nationalism, the belief that a country's technological prowess is a core component of its national power and must be protected at all costs. This is leading us directly into the splinternet, a fractured digital world where your access to information and platforms is determined by your passport. The idea of a single, global, open internet is dying, being replaced by a patchwork of national and regional internets with digital walls between them. The US government may believe it's protecting national security by forcing a sale or ban of TikTok. But in doing so, it's setting a dangerous precedent, embracing the tactics of its authoritarian rivals, and accelerating the balkanization of our digital world. The TikTok ultimatum is not just a negotiation, it's a glimpse into a more divided and less connected future. And that's a future where we all stand to lose. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive with a side of snark, hit subscribe, leave a comment. Until next time.